We're talking about laws of thermodynamics. We're gonna start from the basic part. So what is the enthalpy? Enthalpy is a defined thermodynamic potential. Totally we should have three laws of thermodynamics, but today we're only talking about the first law and the second law. First law of thermodynamics states that the law of conservation of energy states that the total energy of an isolated system is constant. That means energy can be transferred from one to another, but cannot be created or destroyed. Second law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of an isolated system never decreases because isolated systems always evolve towards thermodynamic equilibrium, a state with maximum entropy. So now we're gonna look at the problem we're gonna solve today. The problem is, for years, chemists and physics focus on enthalpy change as a way to measure the spontaneity of a reaction. What argument would you use to convince them not to use this method? The first law, let's look at the answer of this question. The first law of thermodynamics states that total energy is conserved in any process. This means, firstly, that the energy of an isolated system cannot change in any process, so it's in disagreement with our expression. There is a second, more fundamental problem with the hypothesis. If the energy of a system decreases in a spontaneous change, then by the first law, the energy of the surrounding must increase by the same amount. But both processes are spontaneous. So it is clear that change in the internal energy, which is delta E of a system, cannot be the simple of instantaneous change. We shall see that, in fact, the direction of a change is related to the distribution of energy in the system. A spontaneous change is always accompanied by a dispersal of energy into a less ordered form. For example, gases do not spontaneously contract because to do so requires the chaotic motion of the gas particles to become ordered and localized in one part of the container. This is also so overwhelmingly improbable that it can be considered impossible. The opposite process, spontaneous expansion, is a new nature consequence of increasing disorder. So, how to define spontaneous reaction? The spontaneous reaction, which is the distinction between spontaneous and non-spontaneous process, is formalized in the second law of thermodynamics. Thanks for listening.